Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit. A new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing. Cut it close with Hovels. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb. Manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA. Hey Heather, welcome to Quilty.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching out there. How's it going? Hey, we have a thing today.
We do.
Today's a thing.
We do.
This beautiful block that we're looking at comes from a quilt called Resonance. And Heather, you worked this up today.
I did.
And we have lots of things to share about it. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a really cool block when it's done.
And the quilt itself, which is so great, in the magazine, you can find out more. It's beautiful, and it's not necessarily a pattern that you're gonna say, oh, I can do that. There's some techniques and things in it that may scare a person. And so I was gonna ask you, you've been sewing a long time, but if you see a pattern that scares you, I mean, what do you?
I might skip it.
You might skip
I'm not
it.
gonna lie. I
Yeah.
might just skip it and be like,
Me too.
We'll do something else.
Right, but the reason to tackle it, if you want to do that, is because you learn something new, and the results are pretty extraordinary. Because usually when it's a tough thing like
Yes.
this, it gives you shapes that you don't get with just a
Right.
regular 1/4-inch seam. Okay,
Right.
So talk to me about these quadrants.
Well, one actually did it too because they each have a square block.
Yep.
And then a curved seam from the applique piece.
Very narrow
Yes.
curved seam. Yeah.
And it looked like it would be very difficult, but because it's appliqued instead of pieced, the curve is actually much simpler, and it's actually much, much easier than it appears. Your preparation is hard, the sewing easy.
Good. And that's something that you would learn, like going through a project that's kind of more challenging. It's like, oh, that's not that bad. And then you're better at everything because you learned something new. Okay, so let's take a look at, you do strip sets first for this guy. So let's bring those strip sets in. Gorgeous Anna Maria Horner fabric. Love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Could you die? So you've got that strip set, and those make your colored
You make one of the colored blocks with
Okay.
5 2.5-inch strips. You could even use a pre-cut roll.
Yeah, absolutely, jelly roll. Okay, great. And then we've got these gray guys, and I need to bring in the white for you as well, correct?
Yes.
All right, okay. So tell me, what is interfacing?
Interfacing is a material that you use, in quilting you use it a lot to help stick one fabric to another fabric in preparation for applique. And you don't necessarily need it for anything except as a bit of glue.
Yes.
In this pattern and in regular sewing, you might use it to like thicken a collar. Like like a collar on a shirt, like a button-down shirt, is thicker because interfacing is in there holding this collar stiff.
Garment sewers, you're like, oh yeah, interfacing, we know all about it. Quilters use it less, but we use it a lot when we're doing applique and these kinds of projects.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of ways to do appliques and interfacings and things, and you have to find the product that's right for your project and right for you that you like.
Right.
That you like, yeah.
I looked at maybe using this one, which is, this one's sewable, but there's also like a double stick iron adhesive that's essentially a piece of glue stuck to a piece of paper.
Right.
So that you
Kinda
peel
like-
the paper,
right.
like in this one especially, would be peel and stick, and then you peel and stick.
Yeah. Yay.
Both of those would work for this one. Because this white fabric is so pale and the fabric underneath is so dark, I actually used a thicker interfacing that is only iron on one side, and the other side it is plain. You can see that it's fuzzy right there.
It's thicker, it's got that, it's stiff. I mean, you could almost fold it. We won't.
And I chose that so that when you, you're going to cut away this part in the final piece, but when the part that's left, that you're going to be underneath the white so the color doesn't show through that thin white fabric on top.
That's why you're using that, is because you don't want it to show through. So let's talk about this pattern here. This is what we have. You can clear those things away unless you need them
We'll
right
need
away.
one of them.
Right. So these are your pattern pieces. And this is the part where I'm like, okay, I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. These are very skinny little pieces.
Right. You get 2 crazy skinny templates, and you can see that it also wants you to add small pieces to extend the template.
And you know, patterns can be modified. So if this looks a little bit different from what you're working with, I'm not sure. We may be able to modify that. Something quick you should know about Quilty is that we work ahead. You know this because you know behind the scenes. We work with the magazine and the show in conjunction. And sometimes, you know, we are working on a magazine and 6 months ahead, and then we film the show. So sometimes things could change, but we'll always tell you, we'll always let you know, like, you know, when something like this is happening.
The nice
we may adapt.
thing about the extender is you end up matching that square with that square, so it's pretty easy.
Good deal. Good deal. So, but the main thrust is that these are your pattern pieces that you're going to use your interfacing with.
Right. You'd extend it, and then you'd cut it out with paper scissors, not your fabric scissors.
These guys don't want to use something like that.
Right.
You know? So you have your template. However it comes, you have your template.
Right. And then you would trace this template. For this one, you might want to use a template plastic because you have to make like 24 of them or something for the whole quilt. I did not, since I just made a few blocks.
Sure.
And I put it onto a big piece of interfacing. You kind of need a roll in order to have enough space because it's so long.
And I want to show, this is actually a different product, but most interfacing, I mean, it will come on the roll, and you go to the fabric store and you buy it, just yardage like you would anything else.
Right.
Fabric.
And you can see there's some blue here on my template because I sort of use a marker because I like to sort of color and just, so when I pull the paper away, I have like the relief of what I need to trim.
Right. And when you're peeling stuff away, you can score it with a pin. That kind of helps tear away paper.
Yeah. And so this one then is the interfacing piece. This one has it lined up with the white.
Okay.
So what you would do is take the wrong side. I actually used a fabric with the wrong side on purpose so that I could not accidentally, because these are sort of mirror image templates, so I wouldn't accidentally mix them up. And you just put it there, and then you would bond it with the iron. So we probably won't do it, but we can take it over there and iron. And then that's the piece you'll end up with. You then have to trim away the rest of the white fabric. So again, the wrong side is now labeled B because it was a B piece.
Okay, great. And then
there's a strip set block there on this one. So the way I chose to do it is, the nice thing about this corner is you have this whole long corner to line up against your block totally.
Great.
If you were using a double stick interfacing, you could stick there. You might want to figure out how to trim before that, but with my one-sided sticky interfacing, I just did that.
Cool.
I would pin a few places.
Yes.
And then I could sew, and I used a bright red stitch on this one, which I probably wouldn't have in the finished block.
It's kind of funky, yeah.
But I mean, you could totally use a color with all of this colorful Anna-Marie Horner for fabric.
Absolutely.
And notice, like, because the interfacing and the white doesn't go all the way to the end of the interfacing.
Right.
You don't have to stitch at the end. You start stitching at your white fabric, and you stop stitching at your white fabric.
And why do you do that?
Well, you're gonna clip, because you get like that really thin point on the block. You're gonna clip these little pieces off really quick.
Sure.
And then
that's where the curve stops.
Yeah, then you'd sew it together, but you'd also want to trim away your excess here. And if you use a big, nice, wide zigzag stitch, you just take your snips in and just cut what's easy to cut.
Cut what's easy to cut, and you end up with, eventually, you end up with this guy. And let's clear these away so we can really highlight. There's one more really fast thing I want to show on the sewing machine. When you're picking out your stitch, I mean, look at this nice curve. It's a nice zigzag stitch. It's going to keep it sturdy, and you're going to need to find the right stitch. And we've talked about this before, but just get a piece of fabric, throw it under your machine. Well, don't throw it, and then get out your manual, look at the different stitches, and decide what's going to be right for you. I finally decided this one was the one I liked, and you can then label this strip, put it with your project so you won't forget that that's the one you want. And you write down the setting of it, maybe with a fabric marker, right on this little scrap, and put it with your project. So when you come back, you're not spending time like figuring out what stitch you used. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because you're like beep, 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 beep forever. Okay, Heather, thank you. And thanks for bringing in your beautiful sewing. Tackle something that's a little bit harder, ask for help, take a class on it. If there's a project you really want to do, but you're like, I have no idea, take a class. They lead you through it step by step. kind of like here. Nice. We'll see you later on Quilty. Bye. Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield, together we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit, a new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing, cut it close with Hovels. Moda, make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb, manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA.